Stella's going to give our technical portion of the demo today, and I'm just going to give you all a quick overall overview about Marquee 360, talk a little bit about Microsoft Planner, and then talk about our timesheet app, the star of the show today. And then Stella's going to give the demo, and we do have time for Q&A. Now that I'm saying that, I'm reminding myself to record. Oh, someone already did. Awesome, thank you. So the session is going to be recorded today. We will send that out afterwards, and you can share it out with your team if people weren't able to make it, or just for a refresher for yourself. Also, throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute or put your questions in the chat, and we will get to those. We love an interactive audience. So about Marquee 360, we're a Microsoft project and portfolio partner, and we focus a lot on innovation with the Microsoft 365 platform. And what that means is we take all your manual processes and use the Power Platform to streamline those for you. So your team's not working on getting things together. It frees up their time so they can focus on the work that really brings value to your business. At Marquee 360, like I said, we really focus on innovation. So we work on the Power Platform, Copilot, all the new technology that's coming across from Microsoft. We work closely with their development team, so we know what's coming down the line so that you all are getting the latest innovations from them. We also focus on customer success. So we work closely with you at the beginning from requirements gathering, making sure you're getting the right tools for your business and you're not getting anything that you might not be using. We really like to drive value and make sure you're getting the most out of your investment. We also have post-implementation support and workshops. So even after your implementation is finished, we don't just leave you with the software and hope you figure it out. We work with your teams to make sure adoption is there for all your teams. And like I said, you're getting the most out of your investment. And an introduction to Microsoft Planner. Just by show of hands, you guys can just raise your hand if you're familiar with Microsoft Planner, if you're using it, if you've heard of it. Awesome. Quite a few, good. So Microsoft Planner, we'll just do a quick overview. Microsoft Planner is Microsoft's newest innovation with work management. It's there to give you the modern UI user experience and give your team members a little bit of a more user-friendly platform to use. So what Microsoft did was they took To Do, Planner, and Project for the Web and brought them all together into one place. So you get that nice My Tasks, your Kanban boards, and that light project management all in one place. And the great thing about Planner now being all together is it simplifies all the work, so you're not moving from one platform to the next. It's all together in one place. It's flexible, so your teams can use it as much or as little as they want. And then the best part is that I think is that it's scalable. So if your team has some project managers who need a little bit more complex project management planning, we can scale Planner to reach those levels for you. And also it's integrated with Power Platform and Copilot, so you get all that innovation, the AI. So like I said, Planner does, there's two paths you can take with Planner. So you can have it out of the box for your light task management. Your team members can update their tasks, dependencies. And as Microsoft is developing this, they're adding a few more capabilities almost daily. So this list does get longer. If you're a full PMO or you have a lot of project managers, departments, you're really deep into managing your resources, skills, roles, things like that. Like I said, it's scalable, so we can build those capabilities into the platform. So we're bridging that gap from, if you're familiar with Project Pro or Project Online, we're building those capabilities out for you as a Microsoft partner. Our accelerator is called PPM 360, so that sits on top of Planner, and that builds out all of those extra features that you might not get out of the box with Planner. So this just shows how our accelerator fits into your Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And there's a lot here, but today we're going to focus on this piece, the Power Apps. So our time tracking app is a Power App, and you'll learn more in the next slide, a little bit more about the time tracking app. But this is how we get that capability by using Power Apps. But as you can see, there's a lot more that we can do and a lot more functionality and solutions that play into that. Okay, so for timesheets, we have two apps. We have a model-driven app and a Canvas app. And Stella's going to talk a little bit further. If you're not super familiar with Power Apps, we're not going to go too technical, but so at least you'll know why there's two different apps. So we built the timesheet app to be able to extend the time tracking capabilities that aren't already out of the box in Planner. So your teams can go right into our model-driven app, which is built into our accelerator, and it's right. The tab is right there for them to just track their time, see their tasks, allocate the time, and submit. And then your managers can go in and approve. We also have a Canvas app that's built on the Power Platform, but it's not integrated into our PPM 360. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility if you're using different third-party applications, or if you want to extend the capability of the timesheet app, some custom workflows. It just makes it easier for us to do that out of the Canvas app. And now I'm going to pass it to Stella.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So welcome to the Timesheets webinar. Today, we will be looking at two different types of timesheets. The first is a model-driven app built on the Power Platform, requiring a Power Apps license to access and submit time entries. The second is a Canvas app, which is also built on the Power Platform and has fewer licensing requirements, only requiring a Microsoft 365 license and the appropriate access to submit entries. Let's start by taking a look at a project and then seeing how we can submit time against tasks worked on in the project. What we're seeing here, is our PPM 360 accelerator for project and portfolio management. Utilizing this tool, we can manage projects, portfolios, and programs. We can create a project schedule and assign tasks to resources, and there are also areas for tracking project risks, issues, and changes. Here we have our PPM 360 home dashboard, and by navigating to my projects, we can see a list of all of my active projects. Let's go into a project where I'm assigned tasks, and we'll see these tasks when we go to submit time in our time entry application. So here we can see our summary page with some project information. We have a project charter tab for additional information, an area to submit status reports, track financials, and our resources. And then here, finally, we have our schedule. Now, as we can see here in my project schedule, I have myself currently assigned to all of these tasks, starting with last week's time period. And I have some future ones here for this time period currently as well. So as we can see, some of these are currently late and some of these are completed. Now that we've seen some tasks that I'm assigned in the schedule, let's go ahead and submit the time against these tasks. So here from the left-hand navigation, I can click on Timesheets, and it takes me to my Timesheets view. As we can see here, I have my dashboard view, which shows me all timesheets that have been submitted, the time period name, the owner, the timesheet manager, total hours submitted, the date it was created on, and the timesheet status, as well as who it was created by. This view can be user customized or a manager dashboard view for approving as well. To submit a new timesheet, we're going to select New from the top. We're going to select this time period here. And we are going to, in this case, it would auto-populate the manager based on AD, but in our case here, I'm going to make myself the timesheet manager. I'm going to select new timesheet line. And for the project name, I'm going to go ahead and select the project we just looked at, which was corporate product number 125. As we can see here, I can search for any project name, for example, an aerospace project, and it will come up. And this list can be limited to show users only projects where they are specifically assigned a task. So I'm going to select corporate product 125, and let's go ahead and search for the task develop strategies and plans. Now, when I add this one, I'm going to save and close, and it's going to give me a line for admin tasks as well as some other tasks within the same time period that I selected this current task for. So as we can see here, I can see the effort remaining on these tasks. This one here, we can see there's no effort remaining, indicated it's been marked as complete in our schedule. We can see here that as I enter time on the dates, for example, here, let's say I work this one for 8 hours. I'm going to see here my line total will give me the amount of time I enter. So if I enter another 8 hours, we're going to see my line total will sum to 16. I'll go ahead and enter some time for some other dates here. Also, we can see here that my schedule is currently showing me Sunday through Saturday. This view can also be customized to only show Monday through Friday. Now here we have an area for admin tasks as well too, where I can submit time for vacation, non-project meetings, jury duty, etc. When I'm ready to submit, I'll switch the trigger field here for ready to submit from no to yes. Before that, we'll want to calculate our time, which can also be done on a flow. And then I'll go ahead and select ready to submit and save. Now this will send a notification for approval. As we'll see here in a minute, I'm going to receive a Teams notification for approval as well as an email notification. So as we can see here, I've received a request for my approval for submitted. I can see that this user submitted a timesheet. I could click on a link that would take me directly to the timesheet for approval, or I could approve directly from this email. I'm also going to receive an email notification as well, or I can also approve directly from the email notification if I want. And here's this email notification. Or once again, I can follow the link to go to the timesheet, or I can click on here to approve. So I'm going to go ahead and approve from the Teams one and select approve here. Before I do that, if we take a look here, we can see on our dashboard view the timesheet that I just submitted. Currently has a submitted status, but when I approve here, it's going to be updated to approved. So we can see here it went from requested to approved. And that would resemble also on my dashboard view here as well. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, great. Let's take a look at our timesheet Canvas app, which can be embedded directly into this site or in another browser completely. So here I have my Canvas app, which we discussed has less licensing requirements, and it also has more flexibility with customizability as well. This app can also integrate with other tools as well. Here I can submit a new timesheet, view my timesheets I've submitted in the past and the status for each time entry submitted. So submitted for approval, approved, rejected. And managers will also see an approvals area here where they can approve timesheets. So in my new timesheet, it'll take me to the current week here, and it'll show me projects and the tasks for this current date here, for this current time period. Now let's go ahead and create a new project to see how quickly it will appear in my timesheet. So we're going to go ahead and select new from the top here. And we'll call this webinar project 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and save. Now in our tasks area here, I'm going to go ahead and add a new task. I'm going to select the start date in our current time period. I'll say the 19th. And I want to make sure that the effort hours is going to populate correctly here. I'm going to go ahead and assign myself this task. Go ahead and do one more. Assign myself this task as well. I'm going to go ahead and save my project. Now there is a workflow working in the background continuously on an add or modify cadence, which is going to pull this new project in and the tasks into my Canvas app timesheet. So if we navigate back to our Timesheets Canvas app, which as I mentioned, can also be embedded directly into the site, so I never have to leave this area. I want to go to New Timesheet. And we'll see here that that task has appeared here. So I'll see all my tasks that I'm assigned for the current week. Now, if I want to submit time for a past week, I can use the back button next to the calendar to navigate through different weeks. And you can limit how far back users can submit time for as well. Here, I can see the remaining hours. And as I enter time for my tasks, we're going to see that number reduce. Now I can enter for multiple different projects, as we can see here, and we'll see that the lines will reduce. And as I add time, they're going to roll up here as well for the project. So for example, on this one where I have 2 tasks, if I enter 4 hours for this task and 4 hours for this task, it's going to sum up and give me an 8 right here for this project line total. So ideally, I wouldn't want, for example, there to be more than 8 hours unless I worked more than 8 hours on a given day here. Here I can see Wednesday, I haven't submitted any time. So let's go ahead and put 8 hours here. Once again, we'll see this reduce. I also have an area for comments here. So for example, I can say, well, assisted delivery, or I can even say completed task in less time than originally planned. Now that I have created my timesheet, I can save it here as a draft, or I can go ahead and submit it. I'm going to go ahead and submit my timesheet, and it will be routed for approval. My manager will receive a notification of my time entry submission for review and approval. And as we saw, managers can be provided the option of approving directly from the approval email notification they receive, or simply include a link to the approvals area within the app. This way, managers must thoroughly review time entries before approving. Now let's navigate to the approvals area and approve a time entry. Here I can see the timesheet period and the number of timesheets that have been submitted for each time period. When I click into a time period, I can filter by employee name. And we can see here that we have the employee name, the project name with the task name. So we can see here, so there's the project name, and this is the name of the task here, and the amount of time entered for each day with the total number of hours. We can also see any comments the user may have entered for a given task, and this view can be customized to include any pertinent information from the project. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this timesheet. And now the users that I've submitted their timesheet for will receive an email notification. And as we can see here, as the approvals go through, this is going to go through the project. Now you do have the option of having the time submitted by users reflect back on the project schedule, either upon initial submission or upon approval of the timesheet by the manager. As we can see, the value of this tool is that users don't need to go directly into the schedule to update their progress on tasks via this application. Users can not only submit their time worked, but with automation, PMs can have their schedules accurately reflect time updates submitted by users in a timely manner. So today, we've looked at two different timesheet apps. As discussed, the first one we looked at here was model-driven app, which requires a Power Apps license. And the second, which was the Canvas app, requires only a Microsoft 365 license and the appropriate access to submit timesheets. There are also other key differences as discussed, such as the customizability and flexibility of the Canvas app. Although the model-driven app does have user-level customizability, for example, if I wanted to create my own dashboard view here, I could do so by editing these columns, pulling in other important information, and editing this view to even save it for later, specifically for myself. So does anyone have any questions or any other areas of the timesheets they want to see? Yes, David?
Hi. Yeah, thank you. That you said that there is a way to have the input from the user's timesheet automatically update the schedule.
Yes, yeah, that's
Is
the
that
great value in it. Yes, and you can determine if you want that to reflect either when the user submits their timesheet initially, have it reflect, or wait to reflect until the timesheet's actually approved.
okay? Great. So, is there a way for them to then account for additional time? Like, I'm just thinking if there was a task that was planned to be like a 1-day task and they put 8 hours, is it going to automatically mark the task as complete? And,
Yes, yes, we can.
but if they put in 8 hours, but they didn't finish it because it's taking longer than they thought, is there a way for them to add more time to show that, hey, it's not done? I did put in 8 hours, but it's actually going to take me, 4 more hours tomorrow.
That's a great question. So we can either have that done by automation, that option, or we can have the users just in the comments area say, going to need more time on this task. When the amount of time initially allotted for the task, let's say 8 hours, is complete, it normally would mark the task as complete, but we do have customizability control over that. So we can say as well, you can give users the ability to log time over the effort hours for the task as well, or you can limit them to, let's say the task is 8 hours, only submit up to 8 hours, or you can automatically allow the user to submit over that time if needed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I think you were one of the people that mentioned you're currently using Planner, correct?
I was not actually, no.
Okay, sorry.
Is there any concept of kind of locking the time records and such?
Yes, that's a great question. So as I discussed here, so we're going to see that if I go back a specific amount of time, I'm not going to be able to submit time. So here we can see this is disabled. So I can only submit time for either the current week or the past week, as you can see here. So you can limit your users. So we have some customers, for example, that people submit time on a week-to-week basis. So the timesheet locks for the current week at the end of the day, Friday, and then they would have to get special permission to unlock a timesheet. So this is very customizable as well. So you can limit how far back they can submit time. We can create deadlines. We can also create reminder email notifications to the users. And we can also set it up where we have user notifications too, to notify them when a timesheet's been approved. Additionally, you can even customize PM notifications. So when people are submitting time against a project, the PM could receive a notification summarizing all the projects where tasks have been updated via email or Teams notification as well. Does that answer your question, David?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Joyce, do you have a question?
We do not have dedicated project resources. They also provide operational support. Is there a way to capture the difference between the operational support versus the project support?
As in, like one resource might be project support, one resource might be operational support?
As in they may dual. You know, I'm doing projects in operational, so this would capture all my project time, but this would leave an open interpretation for how much time did you spend on operational tasks?
Yes, that's a great question. So what we actually did for one customer here in the Timesheets app is when you go new here to submit new timesheet, and then I would select a new timeline. So let's actually look at one that's in progress here. As you can see here, these admin tasks are added here. But when I go new timesheet line, we can actually have a field here that says, for example, operational or project. And then the one below, if I selected project, would show me a project versus if I selected operational, this would show me a drop down of operational go-to tasks that they can select from to log time against as well.
Oh, that would be really helpful. Thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah, it was actually a great tool that we did for a customizable that we did for our customer. And additionally, they had a specific list of admin tasks by either a code or a name. And we made the field to where users could look it up by either the code or the name. So for example, jury duty, etc. So we could populate this with that list of operational tasks that you have.
All right, thank you.
Of course, yeah. And if we also do have integration, a lot of integration capabilities with this tool. So if there is somewhere that you needed to read back to, like, you know, for payment purposes, we can do that.
So for example, we use SolarWinds. We could potentially link SolarWinds to this so that it would register a time for those tasks, because that's what we use for our break fix
as long as it has,
application.
yeah, as long as it has an API, we can
It
connect to it.
does.
Okay, perfect. Then yes, yeah, that's what's great about Microsoft's tools, that if it has an API, we can easily connect to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Stella, there are a few in the chat as well.
Okay. Can the Canvas app be embedded into Azure DevOps? That's a great question. So thankfully, Azure is a Microsoft tool, and ours is very Microsoft friendly. So yes. Additionally, we have done Azure ADO integration with our PPM 360 accelerator as well. So for example, when I create a project, it can link to an existing repository, bring in user stories in my tasks as they're created in ADO. So our base tool here also does have great ADO integration capabilities as well. Do you have an example of the submitted time reflected back to the schedule or in that task, please? That's a great question. Let me see. So we have our demo environment set up to do both options. So this isn't exactly going to read back in the schedule because we like to leave it open to when it should read back in the schedule to our customers. So Nikita, in this case, we could do it either when the user submits it initially or upon approval from the manager. But I don't have an example of that specifically. But if you did want to provide us with one of those options, we could do a mock-up and demo for you that would display that time reflecting back in the schedule.
Okay, thank you. So you went through on this portion and the other one, and you indicated that it would exactly based on one or two of those scenarios, but I wanted to actually see it reflected back in my schedule, back on my task, because within the details of the task, there's that effort section, and the total time estimated for that task would be in that task, and then they would log actuals for that task in the time tracking app. And then I would want the remaining total to come back from the time tracking app into that task, and then ultimately the schedule. I just want to see that work.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can provide a mock-up of that specifically. In your scenario, would you want it to read back upon initial submission by the user or upon approval by the manager?
Probably. So probably approval for us for now until we grow.
Yeah, Charlene, if you want to reach out to Nikita, and we can get her like a demo or schedule a mock-up to reflect that, we could do that.
Yeah, we can already reach out. Yeah.
And then also, Nikita, something else that I'd want to know for your mock-up is, are users allowed to, for example, if a task is set for 8 hours and I'm seeing it in my timesheet app here as 8 hours, right now we have it to where users can actually submit more. So we'll see remaining hours 0. So I can still come in here and they'll input 2, but we can make it to where it limits that. So the total here is 10. So would you allow users to go over the initial effort or not?
Yes. So for example, within the actual task, right? This app is pulling from the effort estimated in the task, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the time it took me 2 additional hours in your example to complete that task. I want them to reflect their actual time, which is more than that. I want them to be able to put exactly what was spent.
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those details are important for a mock-up. So Charlene can take some notes on that, and then we can schedule something to show you that. And then another thing that I just thought from an architectural standpoint, it would be good to, for the approver or manager side, have some kind of notification, whether it be a color coding on the task or something that indicates that the user logged time over the initial effort hours for the task. So as the timesheet managers are approving, for example, this would be red to indicate that they went over, and then there should be a comment here for a reason why they went over the task.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Good questions. Good questions. Does anyone else have any other questions about integration or specific questions about Canvas versus the model-driven app? Notifications, capabilities.
Couple follow-ups to Becky's question.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that you have some people that have used Azure DevOps with this tool. Was that the Canvas tool or the Power App or the other tool? And or was it actually embedded in the UI of Azure DevOps? Because Azure DevOps has extensions like 7-Pace Time Tracker that will live inside the tool, so the users never have to leave the UI
Mhm.
to do their time tracking with that setup. Just kind
Mhm.
of clarifying that.
Yeah, so good question. So to clarify, I personally have not done a timesheets integration with ADO, but it is you can integrate with it. What we have integrated ADO with is our PPM 360 project tool here. So for example, we had ADO, we would have a DevOps tab here that would sync user stories. So they'd manage it on the ADO side and it would read back to the schedule here. But then, yeah, an existing one here. But the timesheets is integratable with Azure DevOps as well. So we can schedule something to get some more details on that and figure out what the capabilities are there. But our integration with our project tool with ADO is very seamless and beautiful. And we do have an example that for a customer that they are that sandbox environment that they have provided us permission to show as an example.
Okay. Yep.
Caro or Veros?
Sorry. Thank you. I just had a question because in the example that you showed from the Canvas, you said that normally we do not need any licenses from Power Apps. Is it the same case for the other tools that are connected within the Power Apps, for example, the Flow or any other tool?
That's a great question. So if they're just purely submitting here, even if this integrates with other tools, the tool itself might need to use a premium connection, but that doesn't mean that the users would necessarily specifically need that license. There are some integration scenarios in which you would need a per user license, but this is not one of them. So all people would need is to be given the link, the app shared with them, so the appropriate access, and then a Microsoft 365 license for the Canvas app here. We also have an intake application, which is built on a Canvas app as well, and it integrates with our tool. So, project requests are submitted there. Once approved, there's automation we have on our workflows that automatically creates the project and maps fields over here directly. People usually receive a notification saying their project has been created, and they come in here and start managing it. That's a Canvas app. So from a licensing standpoint, we built it on a Canvas app specifically so people can go submit requests there. And we do have the integration and Power Automate workflows and stuff working there, and people are still able to use it without a Power Apps license, just with the Microsoft 365 license and the appropriate access.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Do you have any other licensing questions? Yes, Joyce?
Just for clarification, I hate to assume and be wrong, so I'm going to ask. I'm assuming because this data is now all in the system that we could get reporting on how this all looks to do comparative analysis over things.
Absolutely. So I love that you brought that up. When we say PPM 360, our solution actually includes that Canvas intake application with that project creation workflow included. So everything we're seeing here, plus it also includes 15 reports out of the box for PPM 360. And then the Timesheets app comes with its own reports as well. So everything is reportable via Power BI. And with our PPM 360, you get 15 out of the box reports. So for example, these are our custom reports. So the project status report, which as we can see here is populated from all different areas of the project. And then for the Timesheets app, we do have several automatic reports that you'd get with it as well, which includes time for some customizability of those reports too. So we can make sure that we're reporting on what's important for your team. This is actually my favorite part, is the automatic synchronization of all the data and areas for decision making, such as our resource reports. So for example, here we have an availability heat map, and this is pulling data from resources that are assigned to tasks. So we can see here, we can project who's going to be over allocated in areas where I might need more help. We can also use by roles too. So I can see developer, areas where I need assignments. If I click on this here, it'll show me all the projects and how much they're allocated for.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really great for resource decision making. It has been a game changer for our customers and them being able to reduce resources that are over allocated and more appropriately allocate time to resources that have the availability to do more work.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So if anyone wants to see, any other areas, we can absolutely do that since we have time. So, one thing that Aaron mentioned is our scalability. So here for the project, we can see multiple tabs, so summary, project charter, status, risks, issues, changes. If your company is a little smaller and needed less, we do have a PPM 360 Lite package. So it would come with just summary, tasks, risks, issues, and status. And what's great about a scalability is as you begin to use the tool and need more, you can scale up so we can add more tabs as you begin to need them and your team becomes more used to the tool. So depending on your needs, you might need more or less here.
Stella, just really quick, just to give people an orientation who might not be familiar with Planner or Project for the Web. So like we said, this is our accelerator. It's a Power App. And if Stella goes to that task tab, that's if you do use Planner or you use Project for the Web, this will look familiar to you. This is where we're pulling in the schedule piece. All the extra tabs, that's our accelerator. And that's from Marquee 360. This task schedule, that's Microsoft. Just so I know it gets a little bit confusing. What we're showing you is extra, what's Microsoft out of the box. So I just wanted to point that out really quickly.
Yes, Joyce?
Okay, so now you open Pandora's box. So we're currently using this, and what I understand, so this may be a licensing question. When we're using this, we have the ability to, for example, to look at a board view of this.
Sure.
And our folks that are our managers have the ability to filter by sprint. Yeah, I'll let you catch up with your
Yeah, I can hit
processing
directly in
here.
here too. Yeah, so I can board group by sprint.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
our end users do not. Is that a licensing issue, or is that a potentially an issue I should be reporting?
That might be a basic versus premium plan situation. So if you're using this here, so this is a premium type of plan. So here I have the board where I can.
Well, so I'm saying I can see it by sprint as a manager or project manager, but my end users who are doing the tasks don't have the ability to filter by sprint. They can only do it by bucket.
Interesting. So within Planner, you can either create a basic plan or a premium plan. I think, yeah, so what's happening there is probably they have the basic plan license, not the capability to create a premium plan. So as you can see here in a basic plan, I have, bucket assigned to progress.
Yep, that's exactly what they have.
Yeah, so they need that capability to create.
Hi,
Yes.
this is Nikita. I work with Joyce. We're looking at Planner, specifically our organization, and the issue that we have is in our Microsoft project for the web. Is that a difference? I'm gonna be because you're answering the question as if we're working in Planner.
Well,
This is
so
it'll be the same. Just
Okay.
think of Planner and Project for the Web
As
as
the same.
thing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she did answer it because our end users are at a different licensing level, so they're
they
seeing the
P1?
basic. What's that?
They're Plan 1, probably.
Right. And then we, because we're project manager, have a higher licensing ability. It's still not the end of the world because they can see it by bucket, they can see their tasks, all that stuff. They don't necessarily need to see it by sprint, and it is listed on the task what sprint the task falls under and all those things. So it's does the end user really need to see that view when they can see the bucket view? Not necessarily, in my opinion, but we'll discuss more in Nikita.
But now you guys know internally it's not a bug, it's
right. That's the part
licensing.
I needed to know because
Yeah.
we just were looking at that the other day. So thank you.
No problem.
And what's
It's
really
a
great
little
about
confusing.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. But what's really great about this tool, especially like from an architect standpoint, is that there's continuously new updates like every week. Like for example, on the home dashboard here, as of last week, users can now create their own custom dashboard views. So for example, all users, we configure this during the requirements phase and all users would see this on the home dashboard. But they can create their own new ones. So for example, this is one that I created customly for me. It's my own view here. So you can see I have this, and this is available as of last week. So they're really putting a lot of research and development time into making this tool the best it can be. And this is where Microsoft's really putting all of its money for progression. So it's really great working in this tool because we're continuously seeing things, whether it was on the roadmap and announced them ahead of time or not. Sometimes we just get nice surprises. And from a back-end perspective, from a technical standpoint, we can see a lot of things being added to the Dataverse tables in preparation for some upcoming new releases. So for example, you'll be able to set multiple baselines rather than just one. Yes, Michelle?
Yes. Are resources allowed, are we able to allocate resources by a percentage or are they all 100% allocated to a task?
No, you set that by FTE, and we actually have the capability to make it by FTE or hours. So we've had some customers that prefer to see it in hours, so we convert it instead. So it'll say 40 hours a week is their capacity, or their weekly capacity. But for FTE purposes, I would go to the resource here in the resources area. So for myself here, and I can see that my resource capacity is 0.50, and I'm default utilized at 1.00. And you can also capture other information about the resource, like a big one that we're finding a lot of customers are adding here is the role. So everyone has an assigned role or multiple roles, but they have a default role. And when I assign them a task in a project, it automatically gives them that default role, which can be changed by the project manager. But here we can set the resource capacity and default utilization. Additionally, I've actually had 2 customers that have tied capacity to role. So for example, here I'd have a role field. I would assign, let's say, civil engineer, and the program or the system would understand that civil engineers always have a resource capacity of X, a default utilization of Y, and it would automatically assign those as well based on the role. So that's just one of the many customizable options.
Okay, so if you're working on multiple projects, let's say you have 5 projects, are you saying your utilization is only going to be 50% project work and the rest is operational admin type work? Or you're just saying for that particular role, you're only allocated up to 50% to do any work? Is that what you're saying?
If you chose to tie it to a role, you don't have to.
Okay, you don't have to. So if
Yeah.
you have 5 projects, that means when I allocate you, it's not going to come over in that one project as 50%. It's going to come over. I can allocate you at 10% for this project, 25% for another project. So where would I do that type of allocation for per project?
That's a great question. So here in go back to our main one. So our full package here in the resources area, as I assign tasks to resources. So for example, here, we saw my resources table. I only have 3 resources, right? Well, when I come here and if I assign a task to a new resource, it'll automatically add them to my resources table. And then underneath that, we're going to see a resource engagements area where I can specify the engagement. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new resource here. So let's say Mia read, and she's assigned to this task, which is 8 hours. I'll save my project. And now we can see Mia's been added to the table, and her default role in the system is solution architect. So down here, she'll be added to this table as well. I have my engagements. So I can say for the year 2024 in December, I'm going to need Mia for 0.25.
Okay.
So it's actually by month here. So when we look at
Okay.
this availability report, it's taking all of those factors into account.
Perfect. Perfect. That's neat stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And what I really like is that here we can see that, let's say Mia, sometimes people can wear multiple hats, or she may not be a solutions architect on this one. I can simply come in here, edit, and then I can switch her role for this specific project. So I can say instead she's going to be a civil engineer on this project, but it assigned her what her default role is in the system, but you can always change it. And on these reports, you can then search by role. So if I want to see how is the role developer doing or IT lead, I can use a filter here to search specifically by that role.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And we have a great Power BI developer here. So we often find that, whether it be for PPM 360 or timesheets, we really like to customize the reports. We have our out-of-the-box reports, but we always do a lot of customizations to meet the customer's needs and best reflect what their data needs to show in the report for decision making. So Nikita, Joyce, are you guys currently just using the Microsoft Accelerator from Project for the Web?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are. And we're enjoying it. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. I like it a lot too. Yeah, especially I was the project manager for 7 years, and I like to say it's the tool I always wish I had instead of Excel.
Yeah. And then again, the ability to integrate with our support tool, and the fact that Microsoft is merging Planner and Project into one, I can get all the things I need from a portfolio management, resource management tool, and I can get all the task functionality for projects is a win for us. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the portfolio and the program one, especially with the roll up for the financials. So I can say, for example, I have 5 projects in a given portfolio, and we can see here, actually, let's take a look for our portfolio section. We can see here, so this is the portfolio I created. So we can see these are all the projects that are assigned to or live in this portfolio. And in portfolio financials, I can see this is my budgets across all of those projects. So this
You
is
just sang music to Joyce's ears.
I was about to applaud. I was like, wow, and applaud. Which one do I go to first?
I'm a big portfolios program girl, and just for this can get confusing. What's the difference between a portfolio or program? So the exact definition is that resources across projects in a specific program likely can be shared. So, for example, if I have a real estate program, I could maybe use a contractor or an architect across them. In portfolio, it's more on the fiscal level. So the projects may or may not share resources. Within a portfolio, it's more on a fiscal level. And with programs, it's more about managing, resources, schedule for projects within a specific program. But you can actually tie programs to portfolios. So for example, if I wanted to, we have a portfolio field here. So if I might have, for example, 3 programs that are all assigned to a portfolio, and we can report on this as well.
I am a happy person.
And of course, that can vary on the company's definition. At the end of the day, a portfolio or program is whatever your company defines it to be, but those are just the generic definitions for those. So Joyce, Nikita, are you guys also utilizing the resource management area? Or I'm pretty sure the accelerator doesn't come with a lot of resource tools, right?
We do. Ours is has even more options over there than what I see on your screen.
I think probably characteristics and stuff as well. Okay, well, I appreciate a interactive crowd today. Thank you guys. We had a lot of really good questions. We have about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Erin. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Charlene from our team or Erin with any questions or to request a follow-up, custom demo for your team.